Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to all you for joining us today, both physically here at Orchardville as well as virtually online on Zoom. The Making Sustainability a Core Part of Your Business workshop is held in partnership with SAP Asia and supported by Singapore Manufacturing Federation. This is the first of the partner workshops by Agri-Food Tech Expo Asia 2022. Agri-Food Tech Expo Asia provides a focused exhibition platform for the agri-food ecosystem with a living lab environment, thematic experiential zones, sandbox, and community-based learning. The expo, organized by Constella Exhibitions, will be happening from 26 to 28 October at Sands Expo and Convention Center. So I do hope to see all of you there as well. My name is Ian, the project lead for Agri-Food Tech Expo Asia, and I will be your host this morning. Before we begin, may I gently remind our guests here with us physically on the compulsory safe management measures. Please keep your mask on at all times except when eating or drinking. Maintain a 1 meter distance from other participants at all times to keep each other safe. If you are feeling unwell at any point in time, please immediately approach any of us and we will attend to you. Lastly, please switch your mobile phones and smartwatches to the silent mode for the duration of the event. So to start off the workshop, I would like to invite Ms. Jocelyn Tay, Sustainability Task Force Lead for Singapore Manufacturing Federation, to deliver the welcome remarks. Jocelyn, please.
Dear esteemed speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning and a warm welcome to all. I'm Jocelyn from the Singapore Manufacturing Federation, or SMF for short, and I'm honored to be here today to deliver the welcome address. The SMF is proud to support this workshop, which will introduce some of the best practices that will help you develop sustainable practices as a core part of your business. Before we start the workshop, allow me to give a brief introduction to the SMF. The SMF was established in 1932 and is one of the oldest trade associations in Singapore. So currently, we have about 5,000 member companies comprising SMEs, MNCs, and affiliate members across a wide spectrum of industries in the manufacturing sector. Our members are classified into 10 industry groups, such as medical technology, energy and chemicals, and food and beverage, to name a few. As the advocate for Singapore's manufacturing community, the SMF not only aims to grow the manufacturing sector, but also to help businesses remain competitive while being sustainable. The SMF does this through regularly organizing different activities such as webinars, workshops, and networking events, to educate manufacturing companies on the best practices and to allow them to learn from others in the community. As sustainable development has growing prominence in the manufacturing business, the SMF has established the Singapore Sustainability Task Force. It is to assist our members in developing key capabilities and adopting green technologies to achieve sustainability in their manufacturing business. We aim to increase our members' awareness and knowledge of sustainable manufacturing through several initiatives, one of which was an Implement Sustainable Manufacturing workshop that was carried out last month. These initiatives teach them why and how they should think about sustainability, and how sustainability can be incorporated in various ways. For example, by designing a product that will last longer or can be repaired easily, or by sourcing for sustainable materials to build or package the product. Together with the National Environment Agency, the SMF has also launched the Packaging Partnership Program. Through this program, the SMF aims to help industry members develop capabilities to sustainably manage packaging waste. It also endeavors to help mandated companies fulfill the NEA's mandatory packaging reporting requirements, with the first reports to be submitted by 31st of March 2022. The SMF Standards Development Organization has also launched agriculture-related standards, such as the SS661 in March 2021, to support local farming sector to be more productive, innovative, and resource efficient to enhance our nation's food resilience. The Singapore Green Plan 2030, or the Green Plan, is a national movement that aims to advance sustainable development in Singapore. The Green Plan establishes ambitious and specific targets for the next decade. This plan strengthens Singapore's commitments as part of the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Paris Agreement, and positions us to achieve net zero emissions in the long term. One of the targets in the Green Plan is the 30 by 30 goal, which means to meet 30% of Singapore's nutritional needs through locally produced food by 2030. The disruption of global food supply chains due to the COVID-19 pandemic has shown us the importance of strengthening our food resilience. Investing in the right technology is also key in enabling sustainability in the agri-food industry and accelerating Singapore towards its goal of being self-sufficient in the future. At this juncture, I wish to express my gratitude to all our distinguished speakers for their valuable contributions to this workshop. Through their presentations and sharings of insights, I believe you will be able to take away key learning points on how you can embed sustainability into your business practices. To conclude, I believe today's event will be valuable for you to understand better the challenges faced and the resources available to you as you navigate through the sustainability journey. Stay safe and healthy, and I hope that we can all learn from one another on how to be champions for sustainability in our business. Thank you.
Thank you, Jocelyn, for the welcome remarks. Next up, we're going to invite Mr. Jack Wong, the Director for Agribusiness, SAP Southeast Asia, to share about the agri-food challenges and opportunities in Asia and Singapore. Over to you, Jack.
Good morning, everybody. I'm really thrilled to be here today. My name is Jack. I work for SAP. I'm the director for our agribusiness practice. A bit of introduction. I was born on a farm in China, in the Northeast. I've been sort of living and experiencing the whole agricultural life almost 20 years. And before COVID, I traveled around the region to work with plantations in Indonesia, Malaysia, as well as the protein companies in Thailand, Vietnam, the Philippines. So this is what I learned over my conversations, my experience with them. So what are the challenges that we're facing today, right? First, foremost is the changing demand, right? It's the increasing food demand, as well as shifting the demand from more green-based products to animal products, which requires more resource-intensive agriculture. And also changing demographics. So what I mean by changing demographics, during my visit to Malaysia and my conversations with the plantation owners there, they struggle to have plantation workers, right? Because the old plantation workers or farmers are aging and they cannot work in the field anymore. And the new generations don't really want to stay in the village. They all want to go to the city and work there. As a result, they have labor shortages and they have to import workers from Bangladesh. And that's happening in Malaysia. And soon enough, it will happen in other countries where there's a shortage of labor and also the lack of automations and mechanization of the agricultural process is not really helping on the productivity improvements as well. Last but not least is about the changing and fragile environment. We all know agriculture is exposed to the risk of changing climates. And oftentimes, the farming practice that's been carried out in many of the developing countries are not really up to the sustainable standards. As for Singapore, we must tackle food security. As Jocelyn shared before, our Singapore have a 30 by 30 initiative that's by the government to target to produce 30% of our nutrition needs locally by 2030. Moving forward, so with all those challenges, what are the answers? My customers are looking to technologies for answers. So the traditional way of doing agriculture is observe on what's happening in the field, analyze, and then decide what's the best measures to, what's the best actions to be carried out in the field, and then to carry out those actions. Traditionally, this has been carried out by human, right? Using the human eyes to see what's going on, and then the agronomists will analyze and decide what's the best practices and do it. Increasingly, our customers are piloting to use IoTs, sensors, artificial intelligence, robotics, autonomous machineries, as well as blockchain to help in these processes. And everybody's looking at this to help them to further improve their productivity and reduce cost and become more sustainable along the way. So I want to emphasize the new opportunities that's coming from the changing consumers, right? We have an uprising generation of very conscious environmental or sustainability conscious consumers. They demand for nutritious food that's safe, that's organic. And not just that, they also demand the food to be produced more sustainably. So they have higher requirements for the sourcing of the food as well as the production process. And more importantly, they're willing to pay a premium for this. And that brings new opportunities to all the agriculture companies and food companies out there. And with this, I want to hand over to my colleague, David, to share a bit more on sustainability topic.
Thank you, Jack. Before David starts, may I just make a quick reminder for our guests to please keep your mask on, except when eating and drinking. Thank you. Over to you, David, please.
Thanks very much, Jack, for that introduction. So if we go one forward. So one of the things at SAP, what we're trying to do is both be an exemplar from our own efforts for sustainability, but also an enabler. So from an exemplar perspective is, what are we doing to change our behavior? And that's really important for us because you have to walk the talk. You know when you were kids and your parents said, do this, do this, do this, and they went and did something else. Wasn't so convincing. But from an enabler perspective, what we're realizing is, and we've always done, is worked really closely with our customers to see what are the changing requirements. What do they really need to do? What is both their consumers expecting of them, and from a regulatory perspective, what do they need to be doing? So when we look at, we break this into four areas of focus. When we look at climate action or zero emissions, we look at creating products that we can do, create a footprint at the product level, a carbon footprint. So when you go to the supermarket today, you have a nutritional value on every product. What's going to be happening is you'll see a CO2 equivalent on every product. And procurement also needs to have this. So if you think of the value chain, so if you need to sell a product, so what I heard is in Germany, when in 2025, I think it is, when you buy a car, they will tell you what is the CO2 that was produced for this car? So that today, we don't really have that as part of our decision making. Today we think, what is the quality of this car? What is the fuel efficiency, the color, blah, 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 blah. But there is a new dimension that is coming into all decision making, which is what is the CO2 equivalent of this product? And so we've developed a product called this product footprint management, where we help organizations to determine this, because they need to be able to do this. Okay? And as you can imagine, this impacts many business processes. So that's one of the things we're doing. We also have, what we're doing is helping organizations to measure what they are capturing and what energy and waste water and water, what they are actually using. Because again, what I see companies doing is needing to have sustainability and needing to do really good reporting. But you need to have reporting that is auditable. Because what's starting to happen is, and I've seen it with 3 organizations, you start to have financial loans that come with sustainable KPIs. So, and to meet those KPIs, the people giving the loans want to make sure that your data is audited. And so you need corporate-based, enterprise-grade systems to be able to capture this information. And then from our own side, from the enabler perspective, we've changed our carbon neutral date to be 2023. And part of that is because our biggest carbon emitting processes are commuting and business travel. Well, not many people are commuting to work, and we've actually just changed to have a work from home permanently. Okay, because part of that is, how do we attract a workforce? How do you have an engaged workforce? But also, everything starts to have a sustainability lens to it. And then from an environmental management perspective, we've been having that on our own facilities for a long time. So all our own data centers have been running with green energy from 2014 already. Okay, so that's both enabler and exemplar. From the zero waste perspective, what our customers are asking us is about end producer responsibility. So where you, as the producer of a material, need to be responsible once it has been used by the consumer. So for example, in production, in plastics and packaging, that's a really big topic in Europe and North America, where companies need to pay a recycling fee on the packaging of their product. So I remember when I lived in Germany 17 years ago, this was there already. So when I bought a tub of yogurt, there was a little green dot on the bottom, and what that meant is the yogurt maker had paid for the recycling of that container. Okay, so what that means is they need to report on the exact type of the component of that plastic. And now you start to see, well, some plastics or some packaging have a higher cost because the cost of recycling it is much, much more expensive. So that's one of the areas that we're then working on, and now have a product to be able to do this. And now you will then think of companies operating across multiple jurisdictions. So this becomes, again, more complex. So you've got to be able to do this. And to be able to then see what is your packaging and how do you change that to, again, lower your cost, increase your amount of recycled content into that. We, as Jack said, one of the areas that he works in is with plantations. And this product called Green Token, this is a blockchain product that what helps organizations do is to track the component in a liquid process. So if you start making sure that you've got sustainably grown palm oil, that you can now track this through a business process. What we've then seen is the chemical organizations also want this, because if they're including a certain amount of chemical of recycled content, what you want to be able to do is to prove it to customers. And so, it needs to be not only auditable, but provable. And then, for ourselves, again, phasing out single-use plastics. I came across a really interesting company in the Philippines, one of the telcos. What they've started to do is, they said in 200 of their facilities, you may not bring single-use plastics into the facility. So you cannot bring a bottle of water. I see we have bottles of water on the table. For a sustainability conference. Oh, it's a bit scary. So again, this company, what they had done is said, you may not bring single-use plastics onto the premises. Not, you have to take them away with it. You may not bring them on. So this is kind of the change in behavior that we all have to have. And then from a social responsibility, how do we make sure that we're keeping our employees safe? That when you're handling chemicals, that they're handled in the correct way. That we're recording when there are incidents. How do we learn from it? How do we make it a training? Okay, so that's something that's really important from an environment, health, and safety perspective. How do you then improve your procurement processes? And then how do you actually measure and make sure that you are having diverse employees, that you are being able to measure all sorts of requirements you have. So again, one of the things that I saw reading some sustainability reports in the Philippines, they need to be able to report the number of people who are eligible for maternity and paternity leave, the number that are on it, the number that have returned, and the number that have returned and stayed with the organizations 5 years later. That's change. Okay. So one of the other things for us is making sure we have a skilled and inclusive workforce. So measuring what our workforce actually does. How do we attract and retain good talent? And then the last thing we do is in terms of the reporting. From a sustainability reporting perspective, what we're seeing is that companies have a massive requirement to report on many different standards. So if you have for example, whatever your regulatory requirements are, but then also when you're starting to say, well, I want a CDP rating, or I'd like to have a voluntary requirement. So what we see is these requirements becoming quite complex and really quite time-consuming to collect all this data. So what we've built is products to help that whole process. So I think that's all I had. Oh, and links from sustainability. So we are doing a lot of work around our own sustainability as an exemplar, but from an enabler perspective. And these are just some topics that are there and some places to keep up to date. So I'll also be here, so happy to take any questions after that. And I will pass on. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for the insightful sharing. Next up, on the topic of sustainability and how the new sustainability regulations will impact you, I would like to invite Mr. Tan Kian Teng, Industry Executive, Mid-Market, SAP Singapore, to talk about sustainability regulations that impacts you, new mandatory packaging reporting requirements by National Environment Agency. Kian Teng, please.
Hello, a very good morning to everybody. So thank you, David, for your sharing. And of course, thank you for the hostess to create such an amazing event for having me here. It's definitely my honor. So this is the second week of January. I hope this is still not too late for me to wish everybody here, and of course your family, a very good Happy New Year. So my name is Kian Teng. So most people in SAP, they call me KT. K for Korea, T for Thailand. So I was in SAP for a while already. My title is Industry Executive. You must question me, what is Industry Executive all about? So basically, SAP as a technology software vendors, so we are here to help companies to achieve their business goal. So Industry Executive means with our solution and our knowledge and our expertise, We are here to help you to achieve your goal based on our best practices. So the next slide will be, I always believe that the only constant in life here is change. So I love to read, I love to turn on TV, looking at news, internet browsing, so on and so forth. I can see a lot of topic and a lot of attention being given to sustainability nowadays, right? So as you can look at the slide, there are many data points here showing that businesses now, they are not only chasing for people and money, but at the same time, they're also talking about planet, which is sustainability. Of course, I'm not going through the details here to show you all the numbers, but if you want to know more, later we can sync up separately, I can share more with you. So next thing, so we would love to say that sustainability is a journey, not a destination. So it's not about, oh, today I'm setting up this system with this group of people, done. Or I'm done for a year, done for the decades or whatsoever. It's never like that. So back to, I think when I was in school, right, my teacher loved to ask me this question. So if there must be someone responsible to change the world, and who will be that one? So a lot of us love to say our governments or US president or blah, 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 blah. But actually the teacher wants us to realize that the person who actually make the changes is us. Every single tiny thing we do contribute to the society, to the world. It will make an impact to change the world. So in SAP, we actually want to break down into 3 different levels here. So the first one is more on the individual and the companies. We will call it regulatory compliance. The next one is more into the social responsibility already. As you can see, we are talking about decarbonize, blah, 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 so on and so forth. And ultimately, we want to go into the sustainable growth, which is chasing money, chasing company expansion, at the same time also talking about sustainability, taking care of our planet. So next one is SAP Sustainability Vision. So our vision is so much aligned to what so-called the global vision. So we want to achieve a zero emission, zero waste, and zero inequality. As you can see here, I'm not going through detail because my colleague David already shared. So let me bring you to the next slide. Okay, so you might question me how SAP achieved this journey or this goal together with you. So here we would like to introducing SAP Analytic Cloud. It's a cloud-based solution that are able to help you. So as you can see at the right side, there is dashboarding. I'll go through the dashboard with you later. So basically, in one organization, right, we're talking about a few different functions or different departments, you would like to say. So you can see there's a design. So perhaps during the design phase, we can think about, oh, instead of using so much of plastics or so much of energy consumption or so much time effort, is there any better way we can do it together? Same go to manufacturing, perhaps the energy consumption, electricity bills. Is there anything we can do it together to make the world better? So on and so forth. So the next thing I would like to bring it to your attention is this thing called MPR. So the full name is Mandatory Packaging Reporting. So I believe all the bosses here know more than me. But if I want to use a single sentence to bring it across, it will be help to reduce the zero waste, especially in the plastic. It's not surprisingly for me to when I look at this and I read it. Actually, as a nation, we produce a lot of plastics waste, right? So this timeline for your, as you can see here, I think it's good for me to bring it to your attention so that you will not miss the very important date. And I believe if you're late, there must be some penalties that will incur. So try to be mindful. Okay, the next thing I would like to bring it to your attention is I'm going to run through a very quick. It is not a demo. It is more like a screenshot for you to have a high-level understanding how our solution going to work to help you to achieve this 3R, mandatory reporting. So before I start, I would like to set the stage correct. Whatever you see here is a mock-up. It's not the ultimate look and feel or so-called static cannot be changed, right? This is based on what we understood and based on our internal discussion. we believe that this will be more likely applicable to your case. So some of the example of the parameters we would like to, usually the company will consider. This is actually a copy and paste from the NEA website. It's just a reference for you to think through, think deeper, what are the good parameters to kickstart. So usually will be around the packaging reduction, industry outreach, improving recyclability of packaging, so on and so forth, as you can see here. So the next one will be, okay, so this is the dashboard of our SAP solution. So at the bottom part, as you can see, the 3R plan. If it's too small, I can share the deck with you later after the presentation. So for this case, the first one, we call it packaging reduction. So there will be 2 plans here. The other one is collection for recycling, right? Then there will be certain action plan, as you can see here, and then the action parameters, so on and so forth, remarks produced, and then you can see data. And then on the right-hand top, you can see there is so-called mini dashboarding for you to see more on the visualization and get a look and feel very quickly, and just one dashboard, right? The next one. So when you click, for example, you click into that particular line for you to understand what is actually really happening in the activity and the data itself. You can see something like this. Or you can see, oh, this is current kg, it can be in litres, it can be in consumption watts, so on and so forth, all customizable. And then the current and the target, so on and so forth, versus your goal and ultimate where you want to achieve. Everything here. And again, allow me to repeat, all this thing is a mock-up, and definitely we'll sit up together with you, with our consultant, to come out the best suit for your companies. Okay, next one. So, why we are doing all this thing? First thing, of course, is a mandatory report that the NEA is requesting. So, the bare minimum is actually fulfill the requirements, right? But at the same time, you're putting money, time, and effort to set this thing up. I think we will encourage you to look at more, a bigger picture rather than just fulfilling the regulatory requirements. So how you want to actually do it to submit to the NEA, you can click, there's a button there, and then you can go down, there's an export button. So when you click the export button, it will bring you to, it can be in Excel, it can be in PPT, it can be in Word format, it also can be in PDF, so on and so forth. So when you click the button in Excel format and you click OK, you will receive the document. And then you can use this document to submit to NEA. Job done. So ultimately, our message here is to collaborate with SAP to help you to run sustainability, to transform, at the same time, to make this NEA report very easily just by a few clicks and simple reporting. That's all. So, but you might ask me, KT, where I got all this data from? I do not have. Maybe today is all in piece of paper or in my employee's mind or in, I don't know, maybe in the hard drive, so on and so forth, right? So what I'm trying to say here is, of course, this is good, standalone solution for you to fulfill your immediate requirement. But based on my colleague, David has mentioned earlier, I think it's good, the right time for us to think more than that, beyond that. So you might need to have an end-to-end solution, and definitely that is our SAP strength. So what I'm trying to say here is, I'm just saying if you do not have the whole landscape already set up in your organization, in SAP we have end-to-end solution from the very beginning, which is your supplier. You buy seeds or you buy whatever from them, to your ultimate after-sales services to your customer. End-to-end, we have a solution cater and specific for industry use. So feel free to reach out to us. We are here to discuss. That's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kenteng, for the insightful sharing of a very useful product from SAP to address the challenges in agri-food production and the mandatory packaging requirements. So next up, I'm very delighted to share with you that we will be discussing more on the topic of sustainability in agri-food and the role of technology. I'm happy to introduce our panel of industry expert speakers for the discussion. First, may I invite Mr. David Coldry, again, a SAP Sustainability Champion, SAP Asia, who will be the moderator for the session, onto the stage. David, please. Next up will be the panelists. First of all, we have Dr. Ong Mei Hong, Adjunct Professor, National University of Singapore, Consultant, Advanced Remanufacturing and Technology Center, A-Star, Food Specialist, Singapore Manufacturing Federation. Please. Following that will be Mr. Terry Teo, Director, L-Earth Group and PS Food and Beverage. Terry, please. Finally, we have Ms. Judy Cheong, Head of Brand and Interim General Manager, Sustainia. Judy, please. But before we start the panel discussion, can I just trouble all of you to take a quick look at your screen where we will have a Mentimeter QR code there. So just share with us what does sustainability means to you, just as a very quick survey for the discussion. Thank you. So over to you, David, please.
Thanks very much. So yes, if you could just help us with this Mentimeter here and just take part in that and give us some feedback, and then we can feed back to you what you're actually saying, what your views on this are, please. I think there's a simple question there, and we'll then show the results of what that actually means, what you are telling us. Thank you. So really nice to see. As we can see, this is quite a diverse set of words there. So what I wanted to do is, in the same vein, is to ask the panel as to, given this very wide definition of sustainability, what does it actually mean to you? And how do you measure what you're doing? So I'm really keen to hear diverse opinions and how each of us look at this. So would you like to start, Dr. Ong?
Hello, everybody. I guess this is an easy word, but difficult to answer. I will tend to answer in a different manners. So first came to my mind will be green. I'm very happy to see the word green. I guess underneath it is like green economy, green finance, if you read today's paper. If I were to put on my more analytical head, I will say it's 3 Ps. So P can be for planet, can be for people, can be for profit. But let's explain a little bit more. So planets, I guess, we'll associate with environmental sustainability, your packaging waste, your food waste, and your people, which is you and I, and becoming more important, is a social sustainability, especially talking about gender equality and female and things like that, especially for the farmers. And then thirdly is profit, not just to make money, but what are the enablers to make money, to generate revenue. That's where solution and technology come into that. So the word sustainability actually quite powerful, and somebody who invented that is actually quite clever. And lastly, if you're corporate people, you have to do reporting. You'll be talking about ESG, environmental, social governance. So kind of very much depend on who you are to answer that question. How to measure? I guess I leave it to my other colleagues to talk about how to measure. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Terry. A lot of people ask me what my company do, especially the name called Our Earth or the Earth itself. So my company is actually the green company. We started from SMUs initiative under the UOB Business Alliance consultancy we were engaged through. It's called Love Earth, or what we call it Love, and actually is simple, enjoyable, sustainable. So what it mean by this Love Earth about? Actually, we start our journey of this green journey about 10 years ago, where we look into how can we use recycled plastics, or what we call now they call it, the slogan is called circular economies. What the waste generated from virgin plastics or packaging waste, and how can we convert them into eco products? Neither through the process of recycling, the 3 Rs, and how can we add agriculture byproducts that is generated from Singapore, like coffee waste, wheat husk, or some of the agriculture byproducts like palm that is malicious, or whether you can use the palm fibers, coconut fibers. So we start this journey of the Earth working with A-Stars on this collaboration, or what we call the Green Innovation Journeys. There we started to work with them, looking at how the waste was generated in Singapore. So we started to work with Danyang Opticals to launch the first recycled eyewear in Singapore. And we also work with Prima to launch the plant-based composites material coming from the wheat hunt to do sustainable disposable. And also we do in a higher project with Wong Cafe. We're using the coffee husk to do this kind of eco products like stirrer. We designed the whole stirrer for them using their coffee bean husk through this sustainability project. And finally, we also work with Simtex to do a life cycle assessment. So we was the most few, 10 years ago, we are the first male guinea pigs that we adopt this LCA. So this LCA, or life cover LCA carbon footprint. So we actually do end-to-end. What I mean by end-to-end? From Singapore waste collectors for AMRAS, how the plastic are being collected, and how Prima products and Bon Cafe was collected. So we actually use the end part collected. Then from there, we move into our factories, and we convert them into products. So we have to look into the end part of collecting, the journey of transporting, then after that, how to produce the products, whether is it a single production or multi-productions, and the energy use. So during that time, we do not have all this data of each individual things, and we are the one that is trying to collect all the informations, like now you got the PPPs, packaging reportings. So we are the first few that get the 3R Packaging Award. So we started all this journey. So you probably see there is the Bon Cafe, Primas, all this we get the 3 Packaging Awards, and also the 3Rs now. And going forward, we always have this difficulty convincing, because we are always the back end. We started from the very basic, the raw material, from very initial stage. So a lot of our people don't know about the Earth. So what we go a bit upstream for the last 3 years. So we actually created PS Food and Beverage. So we actually move a bit upstream ourselves, and we do our own brand now. PS Food, adopting what we actually have in our technology, that we started this capability development with A-Star. So we actually adopt this into our now, in our joint venture, like sustainable farming, zero waste. You can see that is where you say reduce waste, green. So we actually started one organic farm with one Vietnamese, about 20 hectares. So now we are doing from organic farm to forks. So you probably can see our brand called Vet Joy, and also Fresh Joy, actually in the supermarket in NTUCs, and or how much or online or the e-commerce platform. So we actually try to advocate the green. So PS Food, we have a 3R Packaging Award. We also have the reduced logos, and we also started the circular economy. So we are the very upfront years that adopting all this green initiative, which we are small companies, so we don't really out to really publicize in a hoo-ha way, but we actually from our internal journey that we actually go through this sustainability ourselves because we want to make it very simple. That is our vision on the earth. And we enjoy it, the journey, and it become very sustainability for our business. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.
It's going to be really hard to follow Terry on all the sustainable things you've been doing, but it's definitely an amazing contribution. So if you look at sustainability from our perspective, so I'm from Sustaneer, we're an indoor vertical farm, Singapore born. We're in 3 markets now, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Malaysia. So for us, I think our founder first started this simply because there was a lack of fresh food available in Singapore. He took the concept of vertical farming from the US and implemented this in Singapore in an indoor vertical space. So what we do differently is being able to grow in a very small space inside any office building, no more than 60 minutes from a city center. So for us, sustainability can be a very big thing. We can talk about we're 95% less water, that's an industry standard now. We can talk about how we're optimizing our production, our operations, but in a nutshell, it really is about reducing waste. It really is looking at, throughout the entire operations, what can we do to reduce waste in every single thing we do. So for us, we started actually really monitoring, not just the resources that we use from the seeds, but how much of a germination do we have? Do we have 100% germination rate? Do we have good enough optimized plant care in the grow rooms? So we have increased quality of foods that reduces waste again. Not just in the post-processing space, but then, okay, we use better techniques and processes to pack so that you reduce waste. So for us, through the line, it really is looking at how do we reduce waste, and we would love to be talking about climate change and all the other big things, and it's a long journey for us to get there, but we are starting from that one little measure that we have, looking at waste.
Oh, fantastic, thank you. So one of the other things to think about is the pull from consumers and the push from regulators. So Judy, if we think from a pull from consumers, how have you gone about convincing consumers, and is there a real pull from consumers that they want to change and they want to be able to make a contribution?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a 100% clean product, right? We're grown in a CEA room. We are harvested fresh daily. We use 0 pesticides. So when we actually talk about this, claims to consumers, we do see that they're easily convinced by the fact that, this is better for me. And at the end of the day, from the consumer studies that we've done, sustainability for a consumer is very personal. To them, it's very much about what can I do that will benefit my life, not just the planet, right? So it's about using less straws, it's about using less plastic, it's about eating less meat, and therefore having something that's pesticide-free to consumers is a pull for them. They are more easily convinced in the idea of sustainability because of it. So for us, we make sure that, in the processes that we have, these are the benefits that we pass down to consumers as well. And we've been around since 2013, and we have actually grown the business quite sizably. So we do see that there is a market for that, simply by putting consumer at the heart of the decisions that we make.
Oh, cool, thank you. And Terry, for you, how does it go from the pull from the consumer side?
When we started of this journey, because it's a green tech kind of thing, message, so a lot of the thing we try to do was internally first. So first is whether can we reduce. Actually, a lot of people think that reduce actually or green is expensive. If you look at the company perspective, you reduce your waste, it's a saving. And if you convert your waste to another byproducts or another product for a company, it become a resources. So that was the first initiative where we were at. Then after the journey of trying to market this to the consumers, actually we want to make it simple. The left is you don't need to change the lifestyle. So, but during that time, there's a lot of greenwashing. So come about that, they say that they are green here and there. So this journey was a bit tough for us because we are small companies. We don't have we have a sustainability officer or whatever of this. So we actually go through the journey of Singapore Environment Council. So we try to get our product being certified by them. So under the green Singapore Green Label. So under the ISO 14021. So at least we differentiate to the consumer, say, hey, these products you are buying from us is green label certified. So if you just don't need to worry about what we are doing, it's already being certified by third party. So, and you just get your normal wear like lunchbox or eco products or the cutlery is being certified by green label. So it's much easier in that sense, but to maintain that green certification is now very increasing. When we started was 500 to get the certification. Now is to maintain it's about 3,000 plus the third-party certification is about 10,000 plus. Where this is where the area where the consumer could like to have, and also if there's no change in prices, then they will definitely buy our products. But that is our own, the pool side, more on our internal. Okay, excellent.
And Dr. Ong, from a research perspective, what are you seeing in terms of the pull from consumers? Is this really a fact, or is this imagination?
I guess I would like to put a bit of science in here. We are actually changing behavior. So changing behavior is actually very difficult, we all know, right? So how are you going to stimulate people to change their behavior? Just like lifestyle change. For example, you saw the product on the table, it was undergo a lot of research. So diabetes is the issue. So they encourage people to change and use this additional ingredient. So it's a lifestyle change. Similarly, for the consumer to accept sustainability concept and also product, it is also encourage them to change. And some people change faster because like younger people embrace this sustainability. But from research perspective, we also want to understand there are a lot of science involved in where you are seeing the product today. There are a lot of innovation. So for Singapore, there are a lot of consumer pull on waste valorization. So you'll see university has done a lot of work. And we have to be very proud to say there are some products we are first in the world, making soya waste from your tofu manufacturing to become a soya wine. That is very much first in the world. And that is a waste. And I'm personally involved in that project. And you may or may not heard about noodles without carbohydrate, without starch. That is also first in the world. That is also a waste from the spent grain. When you make barley, make beer, you have a lot of waste, and that waste, you put science in it, extract the protein, then you make into noodles. So this is the noodles with protein and fibers. And consumer will gradually accept to that for health reasons as well. So sustainability also help in terms of cost saving for manufacturer, for consumer also looking for healthier product in the future. So all in one is a good one.
Oh, very good. Yes, as the old saying goes, one person's junk is another person's treasure. So, and also, I mean, you just reduce your costs because you instead of paying somebody to take some waste, you actually, even if you give it away for free, you're better off. And so, from a push perspective, from a regulatory perspective, do we need more regulation to nudge people along? Or does business see more regulation as an onerous responsibility?
I guess I don't quite like the word push. There is some sort of some force from the government. It has to be the right balance between the push and the pull. I can give one example. The government did very well in terms of returning the tray in the hawker center. I think most Singaporeans will know. It was gradually encourage people to change their habit. Again, a behavior change. And with a lot of convincing, and consumer and citizen understand the benefits and then become successful. But if you do a hard push, I think that may not be productive. And also human beings, tend to be quite rebellious when you are hard push. If you have children, you'll know that. Especially we're trying to convince the next generation. So it's the right balance between the push and the pull. And then I guess science is important so that people understand and you change their emotional needs beside the functional needs. I think that.
So Terry, how have you gone about? So what does the push mean to you?
A lot of time is when we started this green journey. So actually we work with a lot of projects with some of the A stars. But a lot of time when we go into a tender in the government projects, the government itself do not have a green procurement policies. So when it always the cheapest could get the award. So then we could like to see the pull coming from the government side, not just on the stick. we prefer also to have carrots. That's what I think. So if they have a pool system like the regulatory doing all the reporting and all this collecting and everything, what is the incentive to the companies that adopt initiative or working toward that? You see, the guideline is very clear. They say that is 10 million in revenue, you need to reporting, right? It's stated. For me, I actually don't need to report at all. From 10 years ago, I also really need to report. Even today, probably I never hit that numbers yet, so I will not report. But I actually take an initiative to do it. That is doing all the reporting. That's why I actually got the 3R signatory and also the 3R awards. So what is the carrot for me? All right. So that's what I could say that yes, the regulatory can do works of monetary reportings, right? But I also could want to see the government doing the pull side on whether can they give some carrots to us. So this is something that I could like to see on that.
I think to be fair, not to speak on behalf of the government, there are some sustainability grant. Yeah, so that is some of the carrots, perhaps, and also support the government can provide, and also to encourage and motivate everybody in the same direction.
So, Judy, how do you see the push piece?
So, I mean, the Green Plan is a great example of the government helping industries come together to enact quite sizable change in this regard. So I think 30 by 30 is a key topic for us. And we have personally been working very closely with ESG, SFA to make sure that we are ramping up our production to bring more of what we have to consumers. Separately, we are also in the process of becoming B Corp, so trying to understand a little bit more. And it's interesting that B Corp doesn't just look at climate. It looks across governance, worker welfare. It looks at, a lot of different factors that make up sustainability. How do we give back to our communities? So we are very much keen on making sure that, while we are doing that, how do we actually impact the people that we work with, but also the suppliers that we work with? It's easy enough for me to go to my procurement guy and say we have to have green vendors, but if no one out there is actually having the certificates or the right sort of certs that we need, then how do we actually move forward in that process? So a little bit of push is good. A little bit of push will enable more of us to work together better and bring about the change that we want faster.
Okay, good. So we've got just less than 2 minutes left. So a final quick question. So one of the big things for me is change management. So my own change, but also how do we change our employees? So Judy, yes, quick question. Changing your employees, how do you take people on the journey?
Change is a great topic. I love talking about it. Nobody likes hearing about it. So, I mean, our organization hires throughout the age groups, right? We have people fresh from poly who are, bright-eyed, and we have people who are actually returning to their second careers. So people who are above 60, they have done their work and they're coming back for a second career in agriculture. And for them, learning about sustainability is completely different. Learning about the way that we want to do things is going to be difficult. So a lot of the change management that we have to do is not just inspirational, but it's also structural. How do we inspire people to understand the change that we make, the vision that we have, the purpose and the benefit, but also setting the right structures in place to support them while they're making that change? And I think you cannot do one or the other. You can't just inspire and leave. There has to be a lot of, how do I help you in your daily task? The other thing about sustainability change management is making sure that everyone in the company plays a part. It's not just myself. It's not just my procurement guy. It's really also the operators in the room. How do they actually see sustainability as something that they can enact on a daily basis, and then they therefore can make the right decisions that they have to in the workplace. And I think that makes the larger change that we would want to see.
Thanks very much. So I think we got 20 seconds. So Terry, if you can sum it up in 15 seconds.
For ourselves, it's actually our company name already tell you love, simple, enjoyable, sustainable. So every of our new employees come in on board or any of our companies, that we always tell them, please first come in to make it simple and possible, enjoy your work. And actually, if you can look at the sustainability as part of your journey in simple and love, enjoy your work. And please take care of the earth. That's accessibility. So everyone coming, we just tell them these three slogan: simple, enjoyable, sustainable.
Oh, cool. Thank you. And I think we've run out of time. So
I only have one word. I guess keyword is responsibility. Responsibility for ourselves, responsibility for our planet. If you work for a company, responsibility for a company. Just responsibility. That is my final word.
Cool, thank you. So thanks to the panel, Dr. Ong, Terry, and Judy. So thanks so much for sharing your experience. And unfortunately, we didn't have time to have any questions from the floor, but I think we've got some time now. So please, I'm sure the panelists will be happy to take any further questions. So thanks very much.
All right, thank you, David, and our panelists, Dr. Ong, Terry, Judy, for the robust discussion that we've had earlier. That was very interesting. So before we move on to the next segment, which will be the last segment for today, we'll be inviting Ms. Wong Kam Yok, Principal Consultant of Spectrum Management Consulting, to share with us, after all this discussion about sustainability and transformation, how do we embark on this journey to a sustainable agri-food production. Ms. Wong, please.
Yeah? Okay, good. Yes, I'm Wong Kam Yok here. You can call me Kam Yok. I'm from Spectrum Management Consulting. And quick introduction, my professional focus is on process redesign and human capital development transformation with my clients, and including coaching and training from the front levels to the management levels, how to deliver and achieve the performance targets, right? And today, my focus is to share with you some of the examples with my clients, why do we want to transform and how they do it and successfully, right? Okay, so let's move on. Okay, you know, many of us, when we start to embark on any improvement or any change, like what David has mentioned, you know, it's first you do have a mindset change, then a behavior change, right? So when we look at something, you know, many of our clients say, you know, we want to change, but our staff don't want to change. They say it's impossible. So just as what the Global Agricultural Business Forum, this was, I think, about 2 years ago, they had shared this, from a desert to a forest. And of course, it's not overnight. They invested many years to transform, and 15 years of technology, but they're able to commercialize it within 12 months. And of course, the end product, from sand to fertile land for planting agricultural plants, right? So in this case, similarly, back in many businesses, when they want to change, there must be a why, right? If not, why change? So to achieve, why we want to change? To achieve scalable and successful transformation, we need to look at zero-based redesign, and not just, hey, you know, I change because my other competitors change. No, really what your business, what kind of value we want to bring to your customers, that your customers would want to get on board with, partner with you to grow their success factor too, right? So it's not just about, I want to change. So what is a specific thing? To reduce costs, improve customers' experience, capture value for the customers, and of course, then we need to move to a next generation of operations, right? And not just doing a superficial change, right? And many of our clients, when we get on board with them, the first thing we ask them, why do you want to change? Then they'll share with us, we want to increase revenue, we want to be more efficient in operations. Then we break it down into very detailed items. So what is it? Oh, we want new customers, all right? So new customers, what do you want to, what kind of improvement you want to see? New customers increase by 100%. revenue increased by 30%, we get them on board on a very focused, outcome-focused change, right? And also, reduce reduction. So later, I'm going to show you a real example where my client has set this up before their projects and what were their actual achievements. Okay. So this, I've gotten it from also agricultural platform. They say, oh no, the first thing you look at the process. I need to find the correct grain, find enough land to plant everything. But in the first place, what David mentioned, what your customer need, and why they need your product, and how fast they need it, and of course, even when I'm not a real great cook, but when I go to the market, my mom would say, hey, you buy the right type of chai sim, don't buy the wrong one, So there are different types of chai sim that's needed for different purpose. So what your customers need. So we start from zero base. And of course, then understanding your customer needs, then you have to find out what they perceive of your product. You may make it into a 100% green product, but what do they perceive? I think most of the time people perceive organic product as expensive, right? But why can't we change it into value? Why don't they see your product as value to the whole chain, right? So this is the thing that we focus on when we embark on the transformation journey. This is a medical appointment. I mean, for us, we work with clients from oil and gas to medical to even waste management companies to transform their processes. So many times the processes is very in-house focused. That means what we can do internally. We didn't focus really what our customers need and what we can do for our customers at every touch point. So that's where we bring our clients to focus on, to make the change. And when we do a blueprinting, the process itself, the focus on how the process is being delivered, what does your customer get? For example, I pay a lot for my company, Norton Protection, for many years. And more recently, over the years, they do everything in the back end. But we pay and pay, right? So I do notice that now, they will always come up with a lot of notifications to say, hey, I have removed all this virus from your system, I have done this, and things like that. So you must communicate the value to your customers and what is important to them, right? So it's very intentional communication of visible and invisible elements of value, right? And the other key point is to identify potential process fail point. This is later I'm going to introduce you a Japanese word, pokayoki, right? That's from, of course, originated from automotive, but very applicable to many industries. Okay, so of course, the advantage of blueprinting would be very tangible. Your service is tangible to your customers, to your internal operations, and it shows everyone the big picture, help to determine the possible causes of performance gaps, identify its. When you start to ask people, where can you improve? They will say, everything is all right. But when we ask questions during the transformation process, we ask, and they'll say, oh yeah, actually this didn't really work well, right? So asking the right questions to get everyone on the transformation process, to start them willingness on the mindset change, right? Okay, and of course, potential breakpoints. And we go through a step approach. We first allow them to talk about what they're doing now, as is. Then we ask questions. Then we identify the gaps. Then we go into a should be, where we ask them, so what your customer expect you to do, right? And that's where we start to close the gaps. And the last part to be is to establish the fail points and identify the KPIs, right? And of course, the fail points, sometimes we say, hey, we need help in the IT world, in the digital world, to prevent us from making these mistakes. Okay, we adopted the SMART transformation. There are 5 steps, a quick one. First, we select which are the critical touch points. There are too many things to transform and change. So we look at the critical touch points, understand the customer expectations. Then we map the as-is of the selected touch points. We set the expected standards for each of the process, right? Close the gaps. We set up the fail-safe system. That's the to-be. Together with the digitalization solution, set KPIs to measure. Okay, so this term of poka-yoke, it's really from the engineer from Toyota Automotive Manufacturing, and the aim is to remove the need for people to think very hard, to use your product or to have the process. And because you have designed or redesigned these processes in such a way that it's mistake-proof. All right, mistake-proof that prevents it from using it the wrong way. So when your product, your chai sim or whatever, it's intended just like mushroom also. So certain mushroom is for boiling for a long time. Certain mushroom is for quick stir fry, right? Different things. So you must educate your customers of your products and the value of each of your product. Okay, of course, then track and measure the outcome. Making all this change, did you achieve what you set out to achieve, right? So I have this health business solution provider. They came to us and said, hey, we want to grow exponentially, but we are concerned that our process is not scalable. So let's look at the process, help us to tidy it up. So they do go through a customer experience redesign, and using the ACE, they want to provide very assured customized programs and consultations, convenient one-stop service, and of course, qualified health professionals. Their expected outcomes, earlier I've shown, these are all the targets. And some of the key things that they identified, the touch points was, the key reason for the customers not signing up the programs, it's because of the long list of T&C, the terms and conditions. They say, wow, no, I signed already and signing my life away. But when we educate the sales staff to explain that the T&C is really a promise by the business and the customer to be committed to the success for them, right? And one of the fail-safe identified was to minimize refund requests, the change of mind, right? That's very bad for the business. So they designed a starter kit with clear information, benefits, and success stories of the program. So really what they have achieved in the end of 1 year. The project was about 6 months, but they took 6 months to document all the changes and the outcome. So if you can see, for revenue per head count, their target was 30%. They achieved 38%, not bad, exceeded. New customers accounts, threefold increase. All right, threefold increase, and they hope for 100% increase. They have 257% increase. And processing time for specific meal plans. But previously, the nutritionist has to do it manually, and they digitalize that part. They reduce the time from 300 minutes per customer to 60 minutes per customer, right? So there's a lot of savings for one nutritionist for one customer. So from 50% target, they achieve 80%. Customer satisfaction ratings, when they finish the education program, they hope to improve by 20%, they achieve 29%. Right? Last but not least, the refunds reduction. They hope to reduce by 50%, they achieve 58%, because not forgetting their customer base increased by 3 times. Right? That's a good outcome. So I trust that hearing all this back in your organization, back in your business, the mindset change, you have to find the why. Then you could either, of course, invest the time, your internal time to to go on the transformation journey yourself, or of course you can get some of the consulting services that's suitable for your company to help you expedite that process, right? So, of course, there are always a really help factor here by the government. There are government grants for all this transformation process. And of course, I'm quite sure the Singapore Manufacturing Federation, they also have a team of advisors to advise what are the applicable grants. And some of these grants, of course, many of the grants have been 80% or more, up to 80%, but you'll be revising in 31st March. So some of you, if you have something in mind, it's good to submit the application, the grant application before 31st March 2022. Same for the sustainability reporting that Kenting has shared, right? So thank you very much for your time. Yeah, you can put the questions through the organizers and they can route it to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Kam Yok, for the sharing. And with that, we have come to the conclusion of today's program. We hope you find it enjoyable, as well as having gained some insightful, some valuable insights into sustainability for your business. So before we wrap up, please take a minute to help us complete our feedback survey and to help us create better content for you by scanning the QR code that is appearing on your screen now. For our guests here physically, we will be serving lunch shortly. On behalf of the Agri-Food Tech Expo Asia team, our partners SAP Asia, our supporting association, Singapore Manufacturing Federation, and everybody here, thank you so much for your participation today, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Please do check our website at agrifoodtechexpo.com for more updates on our next workshop. Thank you.